Welcome to Kaywon Action Star. Watch.
Papa.
İnanılmaz şans olmuş galiba.
How'd you get over here so quick? Yuri!
Do it!
Thank you.
The story kicks off with a news report about a political prisoner named Yuri Kamarov. Apparently, he's got some dirt on Viktor Chagarin, the guy aiming to be Russia's Minister of Defense. If the information gets out, Viktor's career could go down the drain. Knowing this, Viktor visits Yuri in prison, trying to pressure him into handing over the files. It's clear that Viktor is a man who pulls strings and gets what he wants. Chagarin's making a move on Kamarov. Meanwhile, over at the CIA, agents pick up intel suggesting that Viktor is planning something nasty for Yuri. At the same time, a guy named Jack walks into a bar with the intention of taking someone out. Before pulling the trigger, he casually mentions that he got his info from Yuri Kamarov. Somewhere else, John, another key player, is practicing his shooting when his colleague Murphy shows up with news. In a while. He's found John's son, but the situation isn't great. The kid's locked up in Russia for a shooting incident. Turns out, John is actually Jack's father. A lot of problems. Processing the news, John lets out his emotions by firing a few extra rounds before rushing to the airport, determined to get to Russia. During his flight, he flips through files about his son, whom he hasn't seen in ages. Meanwhile, Jack is being grilled by the Russian authorities. Cool as ever, he tells them he can help them get evidence against Yuri, as long as they let him see him. He even offers to testify, claiming that Yuri ordered the hit at the bar. John lands in Russia and hops into a taxi, annoyed by the heavy traffic. It's very especially near the Garden Roundabout. He complains about the congestion. The taxi driver suggests he'd be better off walking since it'll take forever by car. No. 60 clubs? Not long after, Yuri and Jack are seen in a car heading toward the courthouse for a trial. The place is swarmed with protesters who clearly despise Yuri. As John watches his son enter the building, he notices something suspicious. An armored vehicle and snipers stationed on the rooftop. Inside, Jack and Yuri get a brief moment alone. Jack subtly signals that he's about to break Yuri out. Outside, several black cars pull up. One of them contains a bomb. The leader of the group inside the armored vehicle activates it, and suddenly, everything erupts into chaos. Turns out, these guys are working for Viktor, trying to kidnap Yuri. But Jack has his own plan. His mission is to get Yuri out safely. In the midst of the chaos, a ruthless female operative on Viktor's team takes out anyone who stands in her way. Jack successfully gets Yuri into a car, but Yuri grows suspicious and asks who he really is. Jack keeps it vague, simply saying he's a friend. Just then, John intercepts their car, much to Jack's frustration. Before they can figure out what to do, Yuri foolishly steps out of the vehicle, exposing their location to the enemy. Jack! A high-speed chase kicks off, with Jack trying to shake off their pursuers. Seeing his son in danger, John hijacks a car and joins the chase. Even though he has no clue what Jack is really up to. During the chase, it becomes obvious Jack is actually working for the CIA. He tries to call for backup, but his team refuses to help since he arrived late at their meeting point. Furious, Jack blames John for getting in the way and slowing him down. As the chase continues, Jack finds himself in trouble multiple times, but John steps in, blocking an armored vehicle to give Jack an opening. Eventually, John's car is stopped by the enemy, but he's not one to give up easily. He manages to steal another car, but is caught just as he tries to escape. Seeing his father captured, Jack can't just abandon him. Against his better judgment, he turns back to rescue John. Once they're safe in the car, Jack rips into his dad, blaming him for almost screwing up the mission. But John stays cool, arguing that he was actually helping. Meanwhile, Viktor gets a report that Yuri has managed to escape with the Americans. Jeff, I'm from Moscow looking for you, okay? I need you to get dressed. Jack and John make it to a safe house, where CIA agent named Tony is waiting. Tony immediately demands that Yuri hand over the document. As John takes in his surroundings, it finally hits him. His son is a CIA agent. Yuri then reveals that the crucial document is hidden in a hotel in Ukraine. The clock is ticking, Yuri. But before he gives up the location, he wants to strike a deal. His daughter's safety in exchange for the files. Later, Jack is seen slipping a knife into his sock while Yuri makes a call to his daughter, telling her to meet him at the hotel. Suddenly, gunfire erupts, and Yuri is hit in the hand. Thinking fast, Jack triggers an emergency explosion to cover their escape. The trio makes a break for Ukraine, but tensions are high. Once again, Jack blames John for throwing a wrench into a mission he spent 3 years working on. As they approach the hotel, John and Yuri get into a deep conversation. John admits that he regrets being so focused on work and neglecting his kids. What they don't realize is that Jack overhears everything. Once at the hotel, Jack and Yuri try to find a way inside without drawing attention. I hope. But John, ever the smooth talker, simply bribes the guards, making entry a breeze. Inside, Yuri finally reunites with his daughter, Irina. Relieved, he prepares to retrieve the key that unlocks the crucial document Victor has been desperate to find. But just as he's about to grab it, the enemy shows up. A shocking twist? Irina has betrayed her father. Feeling abandoned and in need of money, she sold him out. Realizing they had no choice, Jack and John surrendered since Yuri was in real danger. Just then, the leader of the enemies finally stepped forward. He had a weird quirk. He loved dancing and earned himself the nickname The Dancer because, right in front of them, he started busting some moves like he was at a party. Meanwhile, Irina had already reached the rooftop, getting ready to escape. The dancer kept mocking Jack and John, but instead of getting riled up, they just started laughing. Turns out, this was their plan all along, to distract him. The moment was just right, and John used the hidden knife he had stashed away to break free. With the opportunity finally there, Jack and John fought back, shooting at the hotel's glass ceiling, causing chaos. But despite their efforts, the dancers still managed to slip away. Before they knew it, a helicopter was raining bullets on them, forcing Jack and John to escape using the emergency exit outside the hotel. Meanwhile, the dancer reported his failure to Victor, who wasn't pleased. He ordered the dancer to get the secret files immediately, and, once that was done, to finish off both Yuri and Irina. As Jack and John were running, they had a brief talk. Jack was hurt, bleeding from a wound on his abdomen. He finally let his father in on what was really going on. The files Victor was after contained crucial evidence about Chernobyl, exposing Victor's shady dealings and how he had framed Yuri for it all. The files could completely destroy Victor's career. The Chernobyl disaster for 1986 was being used as a cover-up, and Yuri had planned to bring the truth to light. In need of a vehicle, Jack spotted a parked car and decided it was the perfect one to steal, because he could tell it had weapons inside. The nervous owner practically gave it away by acting all suspicious, like he had something to hide. Sure enough, the car was loaded, and once they got in, they sped off toward Chernobyl, knowing the dancer would be heading there too, since the files were still hidden in that area. At Chernobyl, the dancer had already arrived with Irina and Yuri, all suited up in protective gear due to the lingering radiation. When Jack and John finally got there, they scoped out the area and noticed heavy security all around. This was going to be risky. Before diving into the mission, John had a heartfelt moment with Jack, telling him how much he enjoyed spending time with him and how proud he was. Jack, though usually tough, couldn't help but admit he felt the same way. Meanwhile, inside the vault, the dancer and Irina were busy working on neutralizing the radiation in the area. Once it was clear, they ditched their protective suits. Yuri finally got to the vault and discovered what they were really after, pure uranium. But the dancer didn't care about that. He was only interested in Victor's files. That's when Yuri made his move. Without warning, he shot the dancer in the head, killing him instantly. That's when everything clicked. Yuri had been playing everyone the entire time. He and Irina had cooked up their own plan. Not to expose Victor, but to sell the uranium for their own gain. Victor had been nothing more than a pawn in Yuri's game. With the dancer out of the picture, the extraction team continued collecting the uranium. Meanwhile, Yuri called Victor using the dancer's phone, smugly acting like he had already won. But Irina had a bad feeling. Something wasn't right. Her instincts were confirmed when some of her men started dropping like flies. Outside, Jack and John had reached the vault. But before they could do anything, Yuri walked in, acting all clueless, pretending he had no idea what was going on. Jack wasn't buying it, especially after seeing all the uranium. John put the pieces together. Yuri was the real villain here. Jack confronted him, realizing that the so-called secret file never even existed. Yuri had been manipulating Victor from the start, using him to escape from prison. Jack, furious, decided they were taking Yuri with them, whether he liked it or not. But before they could get far, Irina and her men stormed in, guns blazing. In the chaos, Yuri managed to slip away, and Jack and John were now pinned down by Irina's squad. Thinking fast, Jack lobbed a grenade, triggering a huge explosion that wiped out several of Irina's men. Meanwhile, Yuri was making his way to the rooftop, while Irina was already preparing to take off in a helicopter loaded with uranium. Realizing they had to act fast, Jack and John split up. Jack went after Yuri, while John set his sights on stopping Irina. Without hesitation, John made a bold move. He drove a car straight into the helicopter, causing total mayhem. The distraction was all Jack needed. He caught up to Yuri and, in a last-ditch effort, managed to grab him and throw him off the edge. Unfortunately for Yuri, his fall ended in the worst way possible, right into the helicopter's spinning blades. That was the end of him. Irina, seeing her father get shredded before her eyes, was devastated. Overcome with guilt, she turned her rage on Jack and John, trying to take them out. But they managed to escape just in time, jumping off the rooftop and landing in a swimming pool below. The final scene showed Jack and John walking side by side, both bruised and exhausted but alive. John turned to Jack and told him something he'd never forget. They had been through hell, but now Jack was just as tough as him, just as hard to kill. Jack smirked, realizing his father had a point. And with that, their insane adventure came to an end. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you didn't, feel free to hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. For the full experience, you should definitely watch the movie yourself. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel for more beautiful recaps like this. Put down your comments below to let me know what you think about the turn of events in this storyline. And also give my video a thumbs up to further motivate me. Share too for others to enjoy. Until my next recap, cheers!